I met her on a snowy night in Boulder, Colorado. She stopped me on the street and whispered something I couldn't believe. We already said goodbye. 20 years ago. First, I thought she was crazy. I'd never seen her before in my life. But then she started telling me things. Things only someone who knew my soul could know. She described a café in Savannah, Georgia. A summer I never lived. A promise I never made. And the letters, hidden letters from a life I didn't remember. Describing every heartbreak, every secret, every choice I had ever made. She claimed this was our second chance. That the first goodbye erased us from memory. That time had split our lives in two. And suddenly, I was questioning everything I thought I knew about reality, about love, about myself. Now, I have to decide. Do I walk away, preserving the life I know? Or do I risk everything to reclaim a love that's already lived once, waiting to be lived again? Because some goodbyes are meant to happen twice. Asterisk. If you felt the chills, the mystery, and the heartbreak in this story, don't let the next chapter pass you by. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next twist in Daniel and Lena's journey is coming, and you won't want to miss it. Snow fell over Boulder like a slow apology from the sky, soft and speechless, smothering sidewalks, parked cars, and all the unspoken things that had collected between last year and this one. Daniel Mercer walked with his hood pulled over his head, gloved hands in the pockets of his worn photographer's jacket, breath puffing in small clouds before him. His camera hung against his chest, forgotten for the moment, the way he often forgot himself. He was finished chasing war-torn cities now, finished freezing under foreign skies, finished collecting images of other people's tragedies while his own stayed locked somewhere deep behind his ribs. Then the world froze. She stood on the opposite side of the street, her dark coat catching snow like lace. Her eyes, those eyes, were locked on him as if she had been waiting for a lifetime. Daniel! His feet were glued to the pavement. No one in Boulder knew him like that. No one said his name that way, soft, trembling, as if it were a prayer. She took a step forward, then another, crossing through falling snow to stand inches from him. Her breath trembled. Her fingers hovered in the air but did not touch his face, like she was afraid he might vanish. "You look exactly the same," she whispered. "I already said goodbye to you 20 years ago." A cold that had nothing to do with the weather crawled down his spine. "I'm sorry," Daniel said carefully. "I think you've mistaken me for someone else." Tears welled up in her eyes, shining like broken glass. "No, you're Daniel Mercer. You were 21. You had a scar on your wrist from when you fell through the dock by River Street. You ordered sweet tea even though it was terrible. And you told me..." Her voice broke. "You told me if the world split in two, you'd still find me." No one knew about the dock. No one knew about the scar except him. His heart beat harder, like trying to break free. "I've never been to Savannah," he said, more to himself than to her. Her lips trembled. "But I've been waiting for you there my whole life." Snow fell between them like feathers cut from a silent angel, and Daniel felt it. That terrible tug in his chest, as though he had just remembered a dream that wasn't supposed to be his. Then she said the words that shattered reality. "Daniel, you already left me once, and it nearly killed me. Who is she? And how does she know his life better than he does?" Silence filled the street after her words, thick and unbearable. Daniel's heart thundered so loudly it nearly drowned out the city. He searched her face for a joke, a twist, a cruel prank, but the ache swimming in her eyes was too real. "Tell me your name," he said, his voice barely surviving the cold. "Lena," she replied. "Lena Harper." The name slid across his mind like a ghost fingertip. He had never met her. Yet the syllables settled into his throat the way familiar names did. The way old love did. "You wore a blue dress that night in Savannah," she continued. "It was summer. So hot the air shimmered off the pavement. Lightning cracked over the river. We ran into a tiny café because the rain came down like the sky broke open. You laughed. You said storms were just God crying too loudly." Daniel blinked. That was something he used to say. Something he had never told another soul. You sang with the radio while we waited for the rain to stop. You hated your voice, but I loved it. Stop. His breath hitched. Please stop. But I can't, she said softly, because I already lost you once, and I can't live through that again. Her fingers trembled as she pulled something from her coat pocket. A faded photograph cracked down the center. She handed it to him. The world tilted. It was him, 20 years younger. His arm was around a girl in a blue dress. Her head rested against his chest, smiling at the camera. The date printed in the corner read, July 18, 2004. Savannah, Georgia. I was 16 that summer, Lena whispered. You were my miracle, my impossible thing. The boy who came out of a lightning storm and taught my heart how to beat. Daniel stared at the photo, pulse racing as he turned it over. On the back, in his unmistakable handwriting, were the words, If the world forgets us, I won't forget you. Lena, he breathed. The air felt thinner. The snow burned against his cheeks. A million questions pressed behind his tongue. How do you have this? He demanded. I never wrote this. I never even owned this shirt in 2004. She stepped back like his words were a blow. Then who was the boy I loved? She whispered. Who held me in Savannah if it wasn't you? The question echoed between them, heavy, terrifying, alive. Then Daniel noticed something that made his blood run cold. The scar on wrist in the photo was a scar he didn't receive until 2006. How could he have the scar 2 years before he ever got it? Lena sat across from him in a small Boulder café now. The irony was cruel. The same kind of worn wood tables. The same smell of coffee soaked into time. Like the universe was mocking them. You wrote to me for 2 years, she said, placing a rather large bundle of envelopes in front of him, all tied with fading string. After Savannah, every month, even after you disappeared. Daniel lifted one letter. His hands shook as he recognized his own slanted handwriting. Every line, every loop, it was his. Yet he had no memory of writing even a single word. Dear Lena, if there are other versions of us in other worlds, I think they might be happier. But in this one, knowing you is still enough to save me. His breath caught painfully in his chest. How did they end? He asked. She closed her eyes. The letters just stopped. He looked up. What happened to me in Savannah? He asked quietly. Her eyes darkened, filling with old storms. You died. The word slammed into him harder than any bullet he had ever dodged with his camera in foreign war zones. What? He whispered. There was an accident, she said, tears breaking free at last. On a bridge outside the city. Your car slid off the road during a storm. They never recovered your body, just the twisted metal, and a watch engraved with your initials. Daniel sat frozen. He was alive. He had never been in Savannah, never driven on that bridge, never died. And yet somehow, someone with his name, his face, his handwriting, his future scar, and his heart had loved Lena Harper with devastating, once-in-a-lifetime love, and then vanished from the world. He whispered, Then who am I? Her answer was barely audible. The version that survived. The cafe lights flickered suddenly. The windows rattled as distant thunder rolled over the mountains. And Lena's eyes widened in horror as she stared behind him. Daniel, she gasped. He's standing right behind you. Who, or what, is standing behind Daniel? Daniel turned slowly. For half a second, the world split into two realities. One where nothing was there, and another where a man stood barely inches behind him. Same height, same eyes, same jagged scar on his wrist. Same shadows carved around the mouth by years of silent heartbreak. It was like staring into a mirror that had lived an entirely different life. You finally found her again, the man said. Daniel staggered back, chair scraping against the cafe floor. Every cell in his body screamed. Lena's hand flew to her mouth. She stared between them as if witnessing a ghost and a miracle at the same time. Who are you? Daniel demanded. The man tilted his head, the exact same habit Daniel had since childhood when trying to study a photograph. I'm the version of you that never survived the bridge, he replied. The one who loved her until the timeline cracked open and swallowed me whole. The cafe around them faded into a blur of murmurs and curious stares, as though the universe dimmed the rest of the world so only this impossible moment could exist. "You're not real," Daniel whispered. A sad smile crossed the man's face. "Neither is the memory of her hand in mine, but it still burns." He glanced at Lena. She stood frozen, caught between fear and recognition. Seeing the boy she once loved standing alive right in front of her, unchanged by 20 years, yet older, hollowed by something colder than death. "You promised you'd come back," she murmured. "I did," the man replied softly. "But the world wouldn't allow it. They took me the moment I realized what we were." Daniel's vision pulsed at the edges. "Who took you? What do you mean, what we were?" The man's eyes darkened. "An experiment," he said. "A fracture in reality. A mistake the government buried inside a locked file in New Orleans. And the only reason you're standing here breathing is because you somehow fell into the version of life that let you live." "So this is about alternate lives?" Daniel asked. "Not alternate," the man corrected. "Interrupted." Thunder rumbled again, deeper now, closer. The windows vibrated. "They're going to feel me," the man muttered. "The timeline always pushes back when I get too close to you." Lena gasped. "Feel you how?" The man stepped closer to Daniel, his voice nearly a whisper. "If you want answers, you have to find the file in New Orleans before they erase her existence entirely." A sudden crack of light burst outside. All the cafe lights exploded at once. People screamed, plates shattered, and when the lights came back, the man was gone. Only the echo of him remained inside Daniel's chest. Who is they? And how is Lena's entire existence in danger? Daniel couldn't sleep. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw two versions of himself, one alive and one broken under black Savannah rain. The words "before they erase her existence" replayed in his mind over and over like a threat carved in stone. "What if I'm not supposed to be here?" Lena whispered beside him in the glow of a dim lamp. "What if I'm the anomaly?" "You're real," he said, though he wasn't certain anymore what real meant. "Your heartbeat is real. Your breath. Your pain." "Then why am I starting to forget things?" she asked. That made his blood run cold. "Forget what?" "Small things," she said. "The way my house looked growing up. My best friend's face. And today, I almost forgot your name, even though I've been carrying it my whole life." A deep hum filled the floor, like unseen machines awakening. Daniel noticed something horrifying. The photograph on the nightstand. The one of them together in 2004. Lena's image was fading. Her smile had lightened, her outline less solid. "No," he breathed, grabbing the picture. "What?" she said, panic rising. "You're being erased," he whispered. A sharp knock slammed at the door, echoing through the apartment. Daniel turned toward it. "Daniel Mercer," a voice called from the other side. "Federal Department of Temporal Investigation. We need to speak with you." Lena's hand clutched his arm in terror. "What do we do?" she gasped. Daniel's mind raced. "Whatever you do," he whispered. "Don't open that door." The knocking turned into pounding. "Last warning." And suddenly, the ceiling light blew out. They stood in darkness, holding breath. Then Lena said the words that shattered him to his core. "Daniel, I can't feel my legs." Is Lena disappearing from reality? Piece by piece, they ran. No bags, no phone chargers, only fear and instinct guiding them through empty streets under a fractured night. Daniel didn't even know how they made it to the bus station. Only that every shadow felt like it was chasing them. 6 hours later, they were on their way to New Orleans, the name burning like a warning. Inside his pocket, the photograph continued to fade. "But what if we're too late?" Lena asked softly, her voice thinner now, as if parts of her were being swallowed by air. "Then I rewrite reality for you," Daniel replied, gripping her hand with fierce desperation. "I refuse to lose you twice." When they arrived in New Orleans, the air felt heavier, older, like the city had been holding secrets longer than they had been alive. Deep in the lower level of an abandoned government building, Daniel stood before a rusted locked cabinet marked, "How does that even make sense?" he muttered, forcing it open. Inside were dozens of files, photographs of people who apparently never existed, and at the very back, a folder labeled, "Lena Harper, Timeline Discrepancy Subject." His hands trembled as he pulled it out, and then the truth finally revealed its teeth. It stated, Subject Lena Harper was never written into the original timeline. She only exists through residual emotional memory of subject Daniel Mercer. If emotional bond is broken, subject will disappear permanently. The room spun. "You only exist because I remember you?" he whispered. Lena looked at him with heartbreaking calm. "Then don't forget me," she said, a faint, trembling smile forming. "Even if the universe begs you to." Suddenly alarms blared throughout the entire building. Red lights ignited in every hall. A digital voice boomed. "Temporal anomaly detected. Memory reset in 60 seconds. Daniel clutched Lena like the world was ending, because it was. She cupped his face gently. "If I vanish, please find me again. Don't say goodbye," he cried. She leaned forward, pressing her forehead to his. "I already said it once, Daniel." A blinding white light filled the room, and everything went silent. When the light fades, will Lena still exist? Or has the final goodbye already happened? Daniel woke up on a cold tile floor. The first thing that hit him was silence. Not the quiet kind that comes from peace, but the hollow, unnatural kind that steals sound out of the air. No alarms. No echoing electronic voice. No Lena's breathing. Just the faint drip of water somewhere in the darkness of the abandoned building. He pushed himself up, his palms pressing into dust that hadn't been disturbed in years. "Lena," he called. His voice swallowed itself. He looked around. The cabinet was gone. The files were gone. Even the rusted shelves had vanished, replaced by clean marble walls, as if this place had never been an abandoned government site at all. And then he saw his reflection in the glass. His eyes were the same, but something was missing from them. Something warm that had finally returned after 20 years. Now ripped away again. He stumbled out of the building and into the New Orleans street, heart racing. Life moved on around him like nothing extraordinary had happened. People laughed. Couples walked hand in hand. Car horns blared. A street musician played an old love song on a saxophone. No one remembered her. At the hotel, he asked the front desk clerk, pretending casualness. "Did I check in last night with a woman?" She typed something into her computer, frowned, and then looked up at him strangely. "Sir, you checked in alone." The room they had shared? One bed, one toothbrush, one towel. Her side of the room simply didn't exist. Slowly, as if someone was reaching into his mind and pulling threads out one by one, he felt memories of her beginning to thin. Her voice, her laugh, the exact color of her eyes. Panic surged in him. No, no, no. He grabbed his notebook, flipping through pages where he had written her name over and over. Only one page still had ink. "Don't forget me." Daniel pressed his hands against his head. "Tell me what I'm missing," he whispered to the air. And then, a whisper answered from inside him. "Daniel, I'm still here." He froze. It wasn't his thought. It was hers. How can Lena's voice still exist inside his mind if her body is erased? "You're not real," Daniel whispered, holding his head in his hands as he sat on the edge of the bed. "I'm as real as your heartbeat." Her voice replied in his mind. "As long as it remembers me, I survive." Tears slid down his face. "You said you were disappearing," he choked. "I watched it happen. They erased my physical timeline," she said gently. "But they underestimated something more powerful than their machines." "And what is that?" "Love that was never supposed to die." The word love struck him like lightning. Scenes, flashes of Savannah, erupted behind his eyes that he had never consciously remembered before. A lantern-lit café, rain on hot pavement, a girl dancing barefoot, her laughter, his promise. "You always lose me," her voice echoed softly. in every version of life, but you never stopped trying to find me again. Am I insane? He asked. Did my mind break? No, Daniel. It finally woke up. Suddenly, a brutal headache stabbed through his skull. A rush of memories, car crash, experiments, observation rooms, things done to him as a child that had been locked away. He gasped, collapsing to his knees on the floor. You volunteered, Daniel, Lena said, years ago, to be part of something that could bend time itself. I would have remembered that. They erased that too. Until now. A pounding sound exploded at the door. Daniel Mercer, a voice shouted. We know you're inside. The door rattled violently. Lena's voice grew urgent. They can't hear me. They can only erase me if they separate me from you. Do not let them touch your head. The handle began to jiggle as the lock started to give. Why are they so desperate to destroy you? Daniel whispered frantically. Because if the truth comes out, the experiment begins again. The door burst inward. Armed men in dark suits flooded into the room. A tall woman with steel-gray eyes stepped forward. Mr. Mercer, she said coldly, raising a device at his head. We're going to free you from your delusions. Daniel backed up, but Lena's voice became powerful, clear, and louder than ever before. Run. Where can he run when the enemy exists both outside and inside his mind? Daniel didn't think. He moved. He lunged for the window, crashing through the glass in a storm of shards and pain. Air ripped from his lungs as he hit the fire escape, the metal vibrating beneath him. Voices shouted behind him, but adrenaline drowned them out. He climbed down, hands bleeding, heart screaming. Don't stop, Lena urged. He ran into the streets, reckless, desperate. The world blurred into streaks of color and sound. Then, without warning, everything froze. Cars stopped mid-motion. People paused mid-step. Birds hung in the air like paintings. Only two things moved. Daniel and a little girl standing in the middle of the sidewalk, staring straight at him. You broke the loop, she said calmly. His heart hammered. Who are you? She tilted her head. I'm what happens when someone remembers the wrong life. Her eyes glowed faintly. And she's not supposed to be inside you. Lena, Daniel whispered. The little girl shook her head slowly. She is only a memory, and you were not meant to keep her. Then why am I still hearing her? The girl stepped closer. Because she loved you enough to defy extinction. The city around them began cracking, as if reality itself was splintering. You have a choice now, Daniel. The girl pointed to his chest. Keep her, and watch worlds collapse around you. Then she pointed to his head. Or forget her, and let the universe heal. Tears poured from Daniel's eyes. You're asking me to kill her. The girl's face softened, almost sadly. No, Daniel, I'm asking you to say goodbye again. Suddenly Lena's voice whispered, tender and trembling. Don't do it for me. Do it for you. The world trembled. 10 seconds until memory collapse, the girl murmured. Daniel screamed, clutching his chest in anguish. 8, 7. And in that final moment, he spoke the only words his shattered heart knew. I'll remember you, even if I become nothing. The world shattered into light, and Daniel disappeared. Does love survive when the one who remembers no longer exists? Daniel woke to the sound of rain. Not the familiar Denver or New Orleans rain. This one was soft, slow, almost careful, as if falling in apology. He lay on a wooden floor, cold seeping into his skin, and stared at an old, cracked ceiling above him. The room was small, humble, a place filled with things, yet none of them felt like his. He didn't remember how he got there. He didn't remember who he was. He sat up, gripping his head as a sharp ache bloomed behind his eyes. There were no memories, no childhood, no face of a mother, no voice of a lost girl, just a hollow echo where a life should have been. He stepped to the mirror hanging crooked on the wall. A man stared back, dark hair, haunted eyes, a faint scar on the wrist that made no sense. Who are you? He whispered to his reflection. Silence answered. On a small table beside the bed rested only one item, a folded piece of paper. His hands trembled as he picked it up. 3 words were written on it in unfamiliar handwriting. Find her again. A sudden emotional weight crushed his chest, as if he was grieving an unnamed ghost. Her? He murmured. Who is she? And then the door to the small home creaked open. A woman's voice spoke his name with a softness that shattered the air. Daniel? He froze. The name felt foreign, but familiar. Like an old melody he had forgotten how to sing. He slowly turned. There she stood. Not the same, but undeniably her. Her hair was shorter, her face slightly older, but the eyes, the same eyes that had watched him across centuries of goodbye. Tears filled her gaze. You did it, she whispered. You found me again, even without remembering who you are. Do I know you? He asked. She stepped forward, trembling between joy and heartbreak. You don't remember me? But I remember you. His heart responded before his mind could. For the first time in this new life, it beat with purpose. Who is this version of her? And what is she here to finish? The woman sat across from him at the small table, her hands folded like she was afraid to touch anything, including him. The silence between them was thick, soaked in unsaid years. My name is Lila, she said. At least in this life. In this life, Daniel repeated, confused. She smiled faintly, but there was sadness layered beneath it. Yes, lives, plural. We have had more than you could remember, but you gave them all up, just to keep one promise. What promise? He asked gently. Her eyes shone with tears. To never let me disappear alone. A chill slid down his spine. Though he couldn't remember the past, his soul reacted to her words, trembling with recognition. You loved me in another version of the world, she continued softly, so deeply that even when the universe deleted you, it didn't erase the feeling you left inside me. Daniel pressed his palm to his chest. That explains why this place feels like it's missing something, and someone. You died so that I could remain real, Lila said. You chose memory over existence, and somehow, the universe made a new version of you. A blank one, a clean one. But then why do I still feel empty? He asked. She looked into his eyes. Because love doesn't disappear with memory, Daniel. It only changes shape. A thunderous knock slammed against the door, violent, demanding. Both of them froze. A cold, familiar voice spilled through the wood. You can't keep defying the timeline, Daniel. His blood ran cold. That voice, he whispered. The girl, Lila said. She always finds us eventually. The door began to crack under the force of each hit. Daniel Mercer, the voice sharpened. You belong to the experiment whether you remember it or not. Another blow struck the door so hard that the frame splintered. Lila rushed to him, grabbing his hands. If they touch you, they will wipe you all over again, she warned. And this time you won't come back. Daniel's eyes hardened with a new strength he didn't recognize, even in himself. Then we don't let them touch me. The door burst open. The girl from the frozen city streets stepped through the smoke and splintered wood. Her face was the same, her eyes emotionless and ancient. You were never meant to love her twice, she said. Daniel stepped between the girl and Lila. Then I'll love her 1,000 times just to spite the universe. The air vibrated violently. Reality trembled around them. Can love overpower the machinery of fate? The girl raised her hand, and the world began to shake as if reality itself bowed to her command. Walls cracked. The ceiling split open down the center, revealing a view of endless darkness above, swirling like a wound in the sky. You don't understand what you're breaking, she said calmly. Daniel planted his feet. I don't care anymore, he shouted. You can erase my name, my past, my body, but you will not erase what I choose to feel. You are a flaw, she replied, a corruption within the equation of time. No, he said, glancing at Lila. I'm the proof that love survives your equations. The girl's gaze flickered with something unexpected. Regret. Once you make this choice, she warned, There will be no more resets, no more second versions, no more second goodbyes. Lila's hand squeezed his. Her voice was barely a whisper. Daniel, if we do this, we do it knowing one of us might not exist anymore. He looked at her, truly looked, realizing that even without memory, his heart had already chosen her. I don't need past lives to know who I want in this one. Tears rolled down her face. Then say it now, she pleaded, before the world collapses again. Daniel cupped her face, forehead resting against hers. Stay with me, he whispered. In any world, in any time, don't say goodbye again. The girl slowly lowered her hand. The cracks in the walls paused. And if the universe demands a price? She asked. Daniel closed his eyes. Then let it take me. But let her live. A blinding surge of light flooded the room. The kind that feels like both death and birth at the same time. Lila screamed his name as the ground disappeared beneath him. The last thing Daniel felt was warmth on his lips, then nothing. Did Daniel just erase himself for the last time? Or has he finally broken the cycle forever? Daniel and Lena fly to Savannah, Georgia. The city she insists holds the memory of their first encounter. Every cobblestone street and moss-draped oak seems to hum with familiarity for Lena, while Daniel feels like a visitor in someone else's memory. They visit the café she says they first met in 2004. The owner, now elderly, stares at them like he's seeing ghosts. He hands Lena an old photograph of a couple laughing at the very same table, a couple who looks exactly like her and Daniel. Daniel begins to question reality. Is this time travel, parallel life, or a shared delusion? The chapter ends with a chilling message Lena finds taped to the cafe door. Don't go back. Some memories are dangerous. Back in Boulder, Daniel finds a hidden envelope in his apartment labeled in a handwriting he doesn't recognize. Inside are letters dated from 2004 to 2005, addressed to him by Lena. They describe adventures, heartbreaks, and promises that feel uncannily intimate. As Daniel reads, he discovers notes that predict his current life. His first heartbreak, the car accident in Arizona, and even the moment he met Lena in Boulder. The letters are written with precision only someone who lived those events could know. Fear and fascination intertwine. Daniel wonders, did Lena live this timeline before, or is she some kind of memory traveler? Lena takes Daniel to New Orleans, to a forgotten police archive in the French Quarter. She explains the truth. 20 years ago, their first goodbye wasn't just emotional. It erased their memories from Daniel's life. Some mysterious force wanted their love forgotten. As they uncover sealed files and photographs, Lena reveals that her second goodbye may be permanent. The universe seems to be giving Daniel a second chance, but at a cost. If he loses her again, it may be forever. The chapter closes with Daniel standing on a balcony overlooking the Mississippi River, Lena beside him, whispering, "This is the last time. Are you ready to remember?" Daniel wakes in New Orleans with a strange sense of déjà vu. Every street corner, every jazz note, feels like a memory he has yet to remember. Lena guides him through the French Quarter, showing him places only they would know. A tiny bookstore where they shared secrets, a bridge where they made silent promises. Daniel begins to recall fragments of a life he never lived. Laughter in Savannah, a fight in Arizona, letters he never received. The boundaries of reality blur. He starts to question. Was he ever truly alone in his life, or have parts of it been missing all along? In the police archives, Daniel discovers a sealed file titled Case, Harper Mercer Timeline Discrepancy. Inside are reports of unexplained events linking him and Lena. Eyewitness accounts of two people living identical lives in parallel towns, a mysterious disappearance, and photos showing Daniel in Savannah in 2004. A city he claims he never visited. Lena explains that they are caught in a rare phenomenon. A life split by choice, memory, and fate. The first goodbye was not only emotional but also temporal. It erased their shared timeline from Daniel's memory to protect them from forces that wanted them apart. Daniel and Lena face a heartbreaking decision. They can embrace the timeline, reclaiming all lost memories and risking a dangerous ripple in reality, or walk away to preserve the fragile balance, losing the chance to live the life they were always meant to share. On a rainy night by the Mississippi, they hold each other tightly. Daniel whispers, "I don't care if it's dangerous. I want us back." Lena nods, tears blending with the rain. They step into the unknown together, ready to reclaim their erased past. The universe responds. Daniel's memories flood back. Savannah, Boulder, Arizona, and New Orleans all align. He remembers every moment with Lena. The laughter, the fights, the promises, the first goodbye, and the love that survived time itself. But with memory comes risk. Shadows from the forces that erased their first timeline begin to stir. Strange figures appear in photographs, and anonymous letters warn them of consequences. Daniel and Lena realize that love is powerful, but some things in the universe resist being rewritten. In a final, emotional climax on a quiet bluff overlooking the Mississippi River, Daniel and Lena face the ultimate test. The choice to either let go or fight for their love across all timelines. They hold hands, hearts aligned, and whisper their truths. This goodbye, unlike the first, is intentional, conscious, and full of love. But it's not the end. It's the beginning of a life lived fully, with every memory intact. As the sun rises, the city below hums with life, and Daniel realizes the ultimate lesson. Time can steal moments, but it can never steal love that is meant to endure. Value time and connections. Life is fragile, and moments with people we care about can vanish without warning. Never postpone saying what matters.